Good morning, my name's Nat Draper. I'm with the James River Association. I'm the education manager. Today we're at beautiful Pony Pasture Park in the James River Park system. Our topic of today is water quality testing. We're going to be doing our absolute best to social distance today. If we are within 6 feet, you're going to see us wearing our masks. Let's get started. Today's topic of the day is water quality testing. There's two components to water quality testing. There's an abiotic component and a biotic component. Today, we're going to focus on the biotic component. The term biotic has a prefix, bio, which means life. Biotic describes living or once living components of an ecosystem. Examples of a river ecosystem would be fish, turtles, plants, and macroinvertebrates. These are all living, and they can be tested to identify water quality. The other component is abiotic, non-living physical and chemical attributes of an ecosystem. Examples of a river ecosystem that are abiotic would be the pH of the water, the temperature of the water, and the amount of dissolved oxygen in the water.
My name is Julia Carson and I'm an environmental educator with the James River Association, and I'm going to be showing you two different ways that we can collect our macroinvertebrates today. So our first one is called a D-net. You can kind of see why it's called a D-net, shaped like a D, and it can be used by one person to scoop things up in the river and hopefully catch some macroinvertebrates. And then our second one is called a kick-seine net. This is used by 3 different people, so 2 people hold the sides, and then the third person kind of moves the rocks around in the river and agitates the water a little bit to get the macroinvertebrates to come into our net. So our macroinvertebrates love to live under rocks and leaves in the river, so our D-net helps to kind of scoop up those things and get the macroinvertebrates that are living underneath the rocks. So what you do with your D-net is you kind of bring it along the river and scoop all the little rocks and things, kind of shimmy it around, and then if you bring it back up, it sifts through the bottom so that you can see if anything is in there that's living. So Nat and I are going to set out our kick-seine net. What we're going to do is stretch it out and then set it at about a 45-degree angle. This way all of the macroinvertebrates can come into our net. And then Charles is going to come over and agitate all of our rocks. So our macros love to live under the rocks, under the leaves. He's going to move all those things around so that they can be free and flow with the current into our net. That's why we're in this moving water section, so that they can kind of flow into our net, makes it easier to catch them. It's also really great weather for macroinvertebrates, so they love like warm weather, and they tend to hibernate in the winter. So this is the perfect time to hopefully catch some good critters.
Some of the macroinvertebrates that we might catch today are dragonflies, mayflies, stoneflies, pelgrimites, clams, maybe leeches. So we are going to identify this as our next step to the process.
Good morning. We are here today at Pony Pasture doing our macroinvertebrate water quality sample. We have our kick-seine net that we just collected our sample in, and we're going to look through to see if we can find any of those macroinvertebrates that we are looking for. We're going to use spoons so we can handle these organisms with care, and then put them into our ice tray so that we can use our observation skills to see what we have collected. Looks good. So here we have our sample of our macroinvertebrates. Now we're going to transition into the next phase of identifying these macroinvertebrates using our dichotomous key. Here we have our sample of our macroinvertebrates that we collected. We have them in their individual ice trays, so it helps us identify the different organisms. On my spoon here, I have a stonefly. Hey there, it's Charles Johnson from the James River Association again. I'm here to provide you a couple of the key terms that we're going to be using as we identify our macroinvertebrates. A dichotomous key is a tool that allows the user to determine the identity of an item in the natural world, such as trees, wildflowers, mammals, reptiles, rocks, and even fish. Our dichotomous key consists of a series of choices that leads the user to the correct name of the given item. All right, well, welcome back. We are here getting ready to identify our first organism. We actually have two ways to identify our organisms. We can use our first dichotomous key or even a field guide. Today, we're going to focus on our dichotomous key. Our dichotomous key starts off asking a series of questions. The first question asks, does our organism have a shell or no shell? So we're going to look at this organism first, right here. So this organism does not have a shell. So that leads us down this track. So following the lines, we're going to then ask ourselves the next question. Does our organism have no legs or legs? The organism that we're looking at has a lot of legs. So we're going down this one. The next question that it asks is, does our organism have 10 plus legs, 4 pairs of legs, or 3 pairs of legs? What do you all think? This organism actually has 3 pairs of legs. So that leads us to this next question. Does our organism have wings or no wings? Our organism has no wings. So we're following this down here. And then our next question is, does our organism have no obvious tail parts, 1 or 2 tail parts, or 3 tail parts? So our organism here actually has 1 or 2 tail parts. So looking at our organism here, I'm able to identify it as our Dobson fly larvae, which is located right here in the middle.
All right, students, for our final stage of our biotic water quality testing, we're going to calculate a macro index score. We calculate a macro index score by using this handout. The macro invertebrate index score has 4 groups. Today, Julia, Charles, and I captured 8 organisms or macroinvertebrates in the Kicksane net, and I'm going to run through them with you right now. Okay? For group 4, the very intolerant pollutants, the ones that are intolerant to pollution, we found the stonefly, the mayfly, the caddisfly, the Dobson larvae, and the right-handed snail. So if we count those up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I put my score here, and these are group 4, which means they're each worth 4 points. So 5 times 4 is 20. For group 3, moderately intolerant to pollution, that means they can handle a little bit of pollution. We found 2 organisms. We found the scud and we found the clam. So I'm going to count those, 1, 2. I'm going to put my score here. Since they're in group 3, they're only worth 3 points each. So 2 times 3 is 6. In group 2, fairly tolerant to pollution, we didn't find any. So I'm going to put a 0 there. 0 times 2 is 0. And then finally, for the group 1, very tolerant to pollution, we did find 1 organism. It was the bloodworm, midge larvae. So we got 1 point for this one, okay? And 1 times 1 is 1. So now if I add up all 4 groups, 20 plus 6 plus 0 plus 1, my total score is what? That's right, my total index score is a 27. So what does that 27 mean? So now I'm going to go down to my water quality index scale. And anything that's less If you have any score less than 11, that's considered poor. 11 to 15 is fair. Good is 15 to 21. And excellent is greater than 21. And our score was 27. So our total index score today from our sampling would be an excellent score. So today, students, we got an excellent score of 27 here at Pony Pasture on July of 2020. Now, in order to know the score in the future, we'd have to run this macroinvertebrate test again. I want to thank you for joining the James River Association today. Charles, Julie, and I really appreciate you being with us here on this virtual lesson outdoors, and we're excited to work with you in the future.